The moment you feel the weight of these guns, watch your enemies explode into pieces, and experience that buttery smooth movement, you'll understand why Witchfire is a masterpiece that you don't want to miss. I've been up until 1 a.m. every night playing this game since the Reckoning update came out on December 12th. The controller has felt glued to my hands because I'm unable to put it down. This PvE dark fantasy extraction shooter is bloody brilliant. The fact this game has only had a max peak of 5,000 players on Steam is criminal. I don't know if it's because it's still in early access or because it has the extraction label attached to it, which is a turnoff to a lot of gamers, including myself. But I promise you, this small development team, the Astronauts, have perfectly blended extraction, roguelite, and first-person shooter elements into an addicting PvE gameplay loop. I have close to 40 hours into this game, have technically beat all the maps currently available in early access, and have certain game achievements that only 3.5% of all players have completed. So I thought this would be the perfect time to give you my thoughts on the game. Keep in mind that there's still so many more activities that I have not completed. More guns and melee weapons to unlock and upgrade, more secrets to find, and more fun to be had. So if you were on the fence about buying this game because it's in early access, I wouldn't worry about that, because there's plenty of content to get your hands on. If you've already bought it and played this game, I'd love to hear what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy about it. Why don't you let me know down in the comments below. What matters most for gamers is gameplay, and this is one of the many areas where Witchfire absolutely shines. You play as a witch hunter called a Prayer, who is a magical immortal being anointed by the Pope himself to seek an artifact that could end the war that rages on between witches and the remnants of humanity. Playing as the Prayer, everything feels so smooth, seamlessly going from first-person shooting to using magic, to getting up close and personal with a melee attack, then dashing back out before taking damage. For movement, you have a sprint, dash, slide, and a double jump. Similar to Souls-like games, these actions use stamina, which if you use too often, you can completely drain yourself and leave yourself vulnerable to getting smothered by enemies. It isn't too punishing though. Stamina is fairly easy to manage once you get familiar with the controls and how to react to different enemies. Plus, you can build up stamina more through upgrades if you feel you don't have enough. The other actions, such as using your weapons, melee, and magic, do not use stamina. Instead, weapons have ammo which you'll need to refill at ammo stations throughout the map, through chests you can open, or by drops from killing enemies. Magic and charged melee attacks will regenerate over time after using them. For your loadout, you'll have 2 normal weapon slots and 1 demonic weapon slot. One thing that is so damn cool about the weapon slots is it's not like most FPS games, where you have a primary weapon like a machine gun, and then you can only slot in a smaller secondary weapon like a pistol. No. This game lets you equip whatever 2 weapons you want. So if you want to dive in and blast enemies in the face with 2 different kinds of shotguns, you can. Or you can mix and match however you want. The combinations are endless. The demonic weapon slots reserved for special weapons, such as a grenade launcher, crossbow with homing arrows, or a stun gun that have their own specialty ammo, which is more rare to find. I personally think these demonic weapons are a bit of a downer, because you can't upgrade them like you can with the normal weapons, which make the normal weapons feel way more unique, and they end up doing similar damage, or more. But the demonic weapons are still fun to bust out every once in a while. The rest of your gear loadout includes a melee weapon, light spell, heavy spell, relic, fetish, and ring. The melee weapon, light spell, and heavy spell are all active abilities you can use, while the relic, fetish, and ring are passive gear you can equip to boost your power and further build up your loadout to whatever play style suits you best. Experimenting with these various weapons and gear can also lead to some crazy awesome build synergies where you can absolutely wreck enemies in many fun different ways. You also have access to your main consumable item, elixirs, which are basically just potions that heal you, but you can use a various amount of other consumable items as well. This is a PvE extraction game at its core, so you'll be teleporting to various maps, known as expeditions, via portals, then killing enemies and completing a large variety of activities on the maps, then teleporting back out. That is if you live to tell the tale. After you take out a group of enemies, you'll manifest Witchfire, which unlocks Arcana, the roguelite system in the game. There are 7 levels to the Arcana, which provides 2 options at each level, and a 3rd option that you can unlock. This roguelite system gives you more passive abilities to work with, enhancing your build and strength as you progress further in the expedition. Witchfire is the main currency you collect in the game, so if you die, you'll lose all your Witchfire, similar to Souls-like games. But again, I didn't find it too punishing, because the majority of the time you can make it back to the location that you died and recover it, so don't sweat it too much. You can also find these Witchfire crystals throughout the expedition, which permanently go into your inventory and can't be lost on death. This game's fast-paced when you're engaged in battle, But then there are slower parts where you're discovering secrets, finding items, and enjoying the cool surroundings. The game can be hectic during combat, providing tons of entertainment, but also providing subtle, refreshing activities outside of combat for a nice mix. The game has a lot of enemy variety to keep things feeling fresh too, with normal enemies, elite enemies, mini bosses, and big bosses ranging from melee focused, range, a mix of both. You'll face all kinds of enemies like spiders, witches, knights, wizards, monsters, wraiths, gravediggers, and many more unique enemies to find. You'll also encounter many side activities to do as well, including things like cursed chests and items, summoning unique enemies to defeat, unlocking secret pathways with Witchfire to find new weapons and gear, large vaults which basically act as dungeons where you need to complete an activity in a certain time limit or meet some other objective that eventually takes you to a final vault boss to defeat, then reap the rewards, and the list goes on. The game does get more difficult as you progress through it with more enemies and more things thrown at you over time, but you'll also be leveling up many different things for your character. So I found there's a great balance between the player's power fantasy and game difficulty. The upgrade systems in this game heavily impact the way you play, the difficulty, and the power fantasy of your character. There's the Ascension system, which is your typical character upgrade system, where you can upgrade your various stats, like health, stamina, weapon handling, spell regeneration, critical hit rate, elixir efficiency, and so much more. But there are some pretty unique stats too, with one example being Divine Intervention, which gives you a certain percentage chance to negate damage entirely. So if you want to be a big tanky beefcake with a ton of stamina and health, an agile glass cannon wizard, a gun-slinging guru with high critical hit rate, or something in between, it's all possible in this game. This decision starts at the beginning of the game where you'll pick from 6 different classes with various starting stats and levels. However, it doesn't pigeonhole you into a specific build. You have the freedom to upgrade whatever stats you want, and even reset them all and start over with an item called the Chronoclast. But early on in the game, it'll tend to make you play that certain playstyle you picked until you get enough Witchfire to upgrade other character stats. I personally picked the Hunter class, who's a well-balanced marksman, so he was more focused on gunplay, stamina, and healing. There are weapon and gear enhancements, which is a 3-tiered system that drastically changes how a gun feels and how gear can enhance various aspects of your loadout. My 3 favorite weapons are the Ricochet, the Hangfire, and the Striga. The starting gun for the Hunter class is the Ricochet machine gun. It starts out with its first tier being able to tag 3 enemies and ricochet bullets in between them, with the second tier having the first shot on a tagged enemy, dealing massively increased stun damage. Then the third tier striking an enemy with lightning, each time an enemy's hit with 7 ricocheted bullets. These tiers continually make the guns feel more powerful and more unique as you upgrade them. Pair this with the Eye of the Madwoman relic, which strikes near-death enemies with lightning, and a stun if they don't die from the lightning, and you can have a really powerful combination that can be boosted further with the Arcana roguelite system. This is just one example of the build synergy you can create in this game. I won't talk about the Hangfire or Striga tier unlocks, because I don't want to spoil too much for you, since the discovery of these gun tier unlocks are such a fun and addicting part of the game that you should really see these for yourself. The Rosary system lets you equip various rosary beads, which can do things like massively boost certain character stats, give you a better chance to get more rewards, give you more ammo or more elixir slots, change game mechanics, like firing occasionally doesn't consume ammo, or getting an extra melee charge, or sprinting doesn't consume stamina. You find these rosary beads throughout the game, and in order to equip them, you have to meet certain character stat requirements. So the rosary system further plays into what playstyle you plan to go for. Incense is a minor upgrade system that you can utilize, but it's very helpful, and can sometimes be the difference between life or death. Incense provides you with various passive boosters. To give you a little sniff of incense, one example is the Bloodthirst incense, where headshots may restore health. Weapons with smaller magazines have higher healing chances. This is my personal favorite, but there are so many options. You can craft incense by finding plants and other crafting materials while you're playing through the various expeditions. There's a workshop where you can craft more weapons and gear. The workshop is directly tied in with the most extensive upgrade system, known as Gnosis. The Gnosis system is generally a world tier difficulty upgrade system. As your knowledge grows by achieving more feats and gaining enough Witchfire, you can study higher tiers of Gnosis, which makes the game more difficult by strengthening the witch's defenses and unleashing more powerful enemies. But it also provides new game mechanics, unlocks more research projects at the workshop, such as different weapons and gear to make your character more powerful, gives you more rosary slots to passively boost your character, and enemies will drop more Witchfire, so you can upgrade your character faster. It also does other things like unlocking new vaults, deeper secrets, and other new possibilities. I think the Gnosis system is the true game changer for Witchfire, because it continually keeps things interesting and makes you want more. More secrets, more power, more exploration, more guns and gear, and more badass achievements. You'll get access to even more things like Arcana Prophecies to modify your Arcana that you manifest, the Vestal Flame to summon fallen prayers, and unsealing latent orbs by opening divine chests, which unlock unique loot. But this is all late game systems that I don't want to spoil for you, so I'll leave it at that. The environments are just stunning. Witchfire is set in this dark, gritty medieval fantasy world with 5 unique maps that you can play. The Island of the Damned, Scarlet Coast, Velmorn, Irongate Castle, and Witch Mountain. All these maps feel really unique, from giant towers to shipwrecked coasts, to medieval towns, to sprawling castles and steep mountains. These environments really fit well with the game's dark and eerie art direction. You'll naturally find yourself exploring every inch of these maps too, because there are so many enemies to face, activities to accomplish, and items to collect that all connect back to having a huge impact on your character and further progressing in the game. In fact, the only way you can progress from one map to another is by finding the physical map of the next area within the one you're currently in. It may sound like, ugh, I have to find this tiny little map in this huge level, but the developers cleverly put these in locations that make sense with the overall exploration of the map. I have to put in a quick plug about performance. While some early access games tend to have abysmal performance or a ton of bugs, I have to say that this game feels buttery smooth. I only encountered very minor bugs and performance issues, which didn't impact my playthrough at all. Overall, this game already feels like a solid experience. For those of you waiting for the full 1.0 release, the good news is the developers are getting closer to the final product, with plans to fully finish the game in 2026. The developers are on the 8th update, known as The Reckoning, which came out on December 12th, so there are only 2 more updates to go. The final 2 updates are very focused on the final new region and fleshing out the full story for the game. Witchfire has been on my wish list for ages, and I couldn't wait any longer. So when the Reckoning update came out, I instantly pulled the trigger and jumped into play. With no prior experience with the earlier updates, I can't tell you how this game has transformed over time. But what I can tell you is this game is fantastic, and an experience you do not want to miss. If you're looking for another unique early access fantasy game to play, why don't you check out my video on Soulframe. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays, and until next time, keep on gaming.